Okay. And it's funny. So Drew, if you're listening, he's my student. He couldn't make it. He had a call
Yeah.
right at this time, but he wanted me to explicitly ask you, what is the difference between data science and decision science?
Yeah. So data science is an input, I would say, right? So when data science is a tool in that sense. So one would use data science tools to make decisions. And
Mhm.
the reason why, I called my role as a decision science, leader in my past role at Apple was because it is not the technique that matters, it's the outcome that matters. So one could, let's say, get a great business insight by just doing a simple cross tab. One doesn't have to do the most complex techniques. So just making sure that everybody in the team was focused on, hey, our purpose is to help companies make decision, right? And not necessarily do the most complex of techniques. Sometimes the simpler is better. In fact, more often than not, simpler is better.
Okay, so I just learned something. I guess I'm a decision scientist then, because I
Yeah.
don't care about the advanced tools and all the crazy stuff.
Right.
Um,
Right.
I'm much more interested on the business side of things and
Yeah.
how the business, like the game of sales, is played, for example, and how
Yeah.
you have to have awareness campaigns that generate leads that you need to pre-qualify, and then you need to find your close rate.
Yep.
So if you can adjust any of the different metrics within that funnel, that can
Right.
have a huge impact on the business.
Right. Right. And the reason why I started using this term is, in the market, when we go out and say, okay, we're looking for data scientists, we might find people who are more interested in, let's say, doing data science work or machine learning for something like Siri or Google Assistant, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're training a virtual assistant to, learn better things. And that is a very different skill set than what you were talking about, is managing the sales funnel.
Right.
Um, so we had to kind of somehow differentiate that, we are this versus not. And that is how the decision science term has come up, and not only us, right? A lot of people in the industry use the term to denote like this category of problems that we want to solve.
Awesome. All right. So why don't you walk us through kind of your history, because it's really, really impressive.
Well, thank you. So I actually am an engineer by training, and I started my career as a software developer for Motorola. And back when the world was in 2G, we were developing 5G systems. So did like a lot of really intense, or what I think what Elon Musk would call hardcore uh, stuff, right? Like building systems from the ground up. And then suddenly, this is like late 2000s, and this whole term of data being the new oil was coming up, right? Like world was getting on the internet, more data was generated, and that became like the wild west, that there is so much data out there and people just need to figure out how to manage that and make use of it. So I joined a small startup called Mu Sigma back then. It eventually turned out to be a unicorn by the time I quit.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
so joined that in India. It was a data science, decision science consulting firm. So did consulting work for a bunch of Fortune 500 companies across like Europe and US. And then after that, I joined Apple. I was By the time I left, I was leading their analytics and data science organization, managing end-to-end analytics for the revenue and the cost side of the world for for a segment of the operations business that I have multi-billion operations business that we were part of. Um,
Very
yeah,
cool.
and just recently I started my own company. We call it Ficus Analytics, and again, right, the objective or the north star of the company is to make consumption of analytics frictionless, right? So we build,
Awesome.
yeah, yeah,
Oh, and cool. And what's really cool about that is that I saw the email thread. So
yeah,
you're interviewing one of my students, what, in
yeah,
3 hours?
yes, yes, yes,
So yeah. And,
yes,
and it is what's so cool about that is that, Gavin has sales experience and then also an understanding of analytics. So like I think that's something that people don't think about too much, is like how can you start to stack things on top of each other, like your area of expertise and then your skill. I think there's this way overemphasis on just skills right
Yes,
now.
yes. And I often tell this to people, right? We all have, people especially who are earlier in their career, right? Have like 3-4 decades of career ahead of them.
Hmm.
And that's a long time.
That's true.
And what we know now, or what is cool now, will definitely not be relevant or cool in like 2 decades. I hope it isn't, right? There are new stuff that have come in. So being married to here is my skill set, but especially early on in the career, is probably not a great idea.
I learned that lesson by creating a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
There's this concept of like trendy content versus evergreen,
Mm.
and how can you decipher? And I think that concept of what's my YouTube topic
Yeah.
applies directly to what is my professional brand. So if
Yeah.
it's when I first started my career, I was a tableau specialist,
Mm-hmm.
which is really limiting. It's also very risky because what if Power BI comes in and dominates the market, and
Yeah.
then in 5 years Tableau doesn't exist? So
Right.
then I'm taking on the risk that Tableau has into my own career. So where
That's
then
right.
I branched out into being just an analytics expert, and
Yeah.
that's much more evergreen.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
saying like I work on this one tool and I solve this one type of problem is very limiting versus, oh, I help executives make use and understand their data.
Right.
And that's so
Right.
much broader. And that's not, 10, 15 years, they're probably still going to be having that same issue.
Yes. 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 Right. And it's Tableau today. It could be some other tool in the future, right? And we'll just have to reskill ourselves a little. But yeah, as long as that's the mindset, I think people are setting themselves up for success.